Building mental wealth is a term people aren't really that familiar with, but we've been talking about it in business psychology for quite a long time. So psychology is the understanding of people's brain and their behavior, what I like to call their attitude and action. And it's often thought to really only come into play if someone is, unwell. For decades, most of the research in psychology did really look at things like abnormal behavior or disorders. But in actual fact, a lot of research and understanding has gone into what we know about how to create an amazing life, one where you're thriving and flourishing and engaging in deep relationships with others and accepting yourself, regardless of what you think you may have done wrong or what needs to be improved or whatever. So in business psychology, mental wealth is used to describe someone who has an abundance of self-awareness and mental well-being, along with a confident ability to achieve their goals. A person with high mental wealth is someone who's going to be a top work performer and highly productive. What I want to do today is take a bit of a deeper look into the elements of mental wealth and what they really mean. So as I mentioned, the three elements of mental wealth are self-awareness, mental well-being, and an ability to achieve goals. So let's start with self-awareness. Everything you want to achieve, both personally and professionally, is driven by the 3 pounds of gray stuff between your ears. Of course, you may have some deep-seated beliefs and heartfelt passions or phrases that you want to use to describe things that you feel in your heart, but they are actually acted upon by your brain. In that brain are all of your experiences, biases, judgments, impressions, processes, and of course how you think. So your actions are driven by your thoughts and feelings. Whether those are conscious or subconscious doesn't matter. The thoughts and feelings drive what it is that you do. So obviously, the more you can identify yourself as a unique human being with your own set of thoughts and feelings and be in touch with them, the more likely you are to take the actions to create your ideal life experience. I like to sum this up by saying the depth of your self-awareness equals the breadth of your success, however you want to define that success. Self-awareness is a massive subject, and I divide it into 3 sections. The first is, who am I? And that relates to what is my integrity and what keeps me grounded and engaged in my life. The second part of self-awareness is, why do I? Meaning, what are the fears and judgments behind the things that I do and the things that I don't do? And the third part of self-awareness is, how do I? And this relates to how you go about getting your goals so that you're living your best life. The more you know about these 3 areas, who am I, why do I, and how do I, the more likely you are to be balanced, resilient, relaxed, and at work, more productive, engaged, and excelling in your career. So let's move on to the notion of mental well-being. And this is different than what we talk about in terms of mental health. You see, mental well-being and mental health are on the same spectrum, but they are very different from each other. The term mental health is actually generally used in society incorrectly, because the term is used by doctors and psychiatrists, so those who are trained in neuropsychology and the physiology of brain structure. And they refer to the DSMR or DSMR-5 or whatever, which stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual Revised. It sets out guidelines for the diagnoses of mental health and mental illness. Okay? So really, the term mental health needs to be used by those people who are diagnosing a problem or determining that a problem doesn't exist. It's actually a very clinical, objective term. Mental well-being, on the other hand, is very subjective, and it's in your control. Mental health being very objective and a term that's used by those diagnosing something is objective, whereas mental well-being is subjective and therefore within your control. It is your determination of how you're doing and your measurement of things like the feelings of fulfillment, achievement, satisfaction, and those sorts of things that you can judge for yourself. Somebody can be subjectively low on mental well-being, but not be mentally ill. And there are definitely people who are diagnosed as mentally ill, but they're having a great time. So generally speaking, mental well-being is fluid and flexible. Some days are good, some days not so much, but it's temporary. Low mental health, on the other hand, requires some type of intervention with medications or hospitals. So in order to build mental wealth for yourself, staying focused on what you can control, in other words, your mental well-being, needs to be the focus. And it's also very clear that if your mental well-being is starting to come off track and is sliding towards the right-hand side of the spectrum, so sliding off mental well-being, off the green dot as it were, and sliding towards a clinical disorder, if you don't pay attention to your mental well-being, there is a distinct possibility you will fall into a more objective diagnosis of something. So again, another reason to focus your attention on what you can control, which is your mental well-being. So what are the things that bring you a sense of mental well-being? What are the things that help you feel in the moment, or as they say, in the flow of things? Who do you want to spend your time with? How do you spend time when you're on your own? What refuels you? What gets you going? What makes you smile? What makes you enjoy the moment? And as you build your self-awareness, you know what we were talking about a minute or two ago, as you build that, you're going to be more able to answer these questions. As you build self-awareness, so also do you build the opportunity to build your mental well-being. And the other part of building mental wealth, being your ability to confidently achieve goals, also plays into your mental well-being. You see, your self-efficacy, or your belief in yourself to achieve your goal, plays a huge part in mental well-being, and of course at work, in your mental wealth. But very few people truly understand how to set and get their goals. Many people, in fact, achieve maybe only 50% of the goals they set for themselves. When I ask people this question in front of an audience, they're usually, maybe a third, perhaps half the audience put up their hands that they're achieving their goals in the deadlines that they set for themselves. And if you're not achieving your goals, that's going to eat away at your confidence and motivation. Over time, your goals become smaller, and quite often the excuses get bigger. I'm going to right now give you a crash course on goal achievement. And I want you to listen really carefully, but if you want to take notes, go ahead, particularly for the words that pop out to you when we're talking about this that make a lot of sense to you. Okay? So we usually think about the end result when we achieve our goals, right? The make $100,000 or lose 30 pounds. We've been taught that that end result is our ultimate goal. Guess what? That's absolutely wrong. The end result of losing 30 pounds or making 100 grand is not a goal. So I'm going to break this down a little bit further for you as well. So this idea of that end result, that ta-da, look what I did, let's not focus on that anymore. And that's because something happens before you get that end result. What is it that happens just before that end result? Well, you've taken some kind of step. You've been in some sort of action. You've moved something forward. And this is what most people think about and focus on, are those actions. So that seems reasonable then to focus on those as being the goal, right? Nope, because something happens before you take an action. What is it that happens just before you take an action, before you do something? We think about something. Our thoughts, our mindset precedes every action and therefore every result. Remember, right at the top of this, I mentioned that your brain is behind everything you do. Well, this emphasizes that. Your mindset underpins everything. Thoughts lead to actions, and actions lead to results. So instead of focusing on the result, yes, you focus on your actions, but more importantly, you need to focus on the thoughts and feelings before you even lift a finger. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean, and I'm going to use this idea of losing 30 pounds. That's your, at the moment, what you're calling a goal, but is actually something that I would call a desired outcome or the want. You want to lose 30 pounds in the next 5 months. Let's just say that. That's your desired outcome. That's the thing you want. Before that, you need to take some actions. You're not just going to sit there and lose 30 pounds. So you need to do something. Let's say go to the gym or work out 3 times a week is the commitment that you're going to make that increases the likelihood but does not guarantee that you will achieve the desired outcome or your want. So your actions are go to the gym or work out 3 times a week. That is what we write down as our performance goal. That's our behavior. But really, in order to do that behavior, you need to make new choices and decisions. Because if you were already going to the gym 3 times a week, if you were already working out, you would already be in a healthier state than perhaps you are now. And this notion of losing 30 pounds would not be your desired outcome. So really, the key focus is the thoughts and behaviors. And that comes with self-awareness and understanding your mental well-being. Do you see how all of this is starting to come together? How all these 3 things, self-awareness, mental well-being, and learning how to achieve goals well, really builds mental wealth. I like to sum up the notion of mental wealth by using the imagery of a bolt, a washer, and a nut. The bolt represents self-awareness. It's the core, and it's the thing that is needed to bring everything else together. The washer is your mental well-being. Washers do 2 things. First, they distribute the load from the bolt over a larger area. And second, they help the bolt remain secure. So your mental well-being feeds into your self-awareness and vice versa. And it helps to keep your self-awareness grounded and secure. Keeps you focused on your self-awareness. And vice versa. And of course, the nut is like your confidence to achieve goals. It helps you turn your self-awareness into the life you want to fully live. And achieving your goals not only keeps you mentally well, keeps your mental well-being positive, it helps you to get back on that positive track when you need to. All these 3 things combined, self-awareness, mental well-being, and confident goal achievement, build your mental wealth. So the why of building your mental wealth, like why would you even bother with any of this, is so that you can use it to help you flourish in life, both personally and professionally. So now that we've covered the 3 parts of building mental wealth, what do you do next? There are a variety of things that you can learn about at buildingmentalwealth.com. But at this point of learning how to build your mental wealth, there's one thing I want you to do. I want you to start acting as if. I want you to start acting as if you had already built your mental wealth. As if your self-awareness was already high. If your mental well-being was already positive and balanced. And if you were confidently achieving 80 or 90% of your performance goals. I want you to make all of your choices and decisions from that person who has high self-awareness, balanced mental well-being, and is confidently achieving their goals. Close your eyes and imagine, for example, how would that person think through the course of the day? What would they do? What would they not do? How would they be feeling? Act as if you are already that person and ask yourself those questions and questions like that. Just begin the process and see what comes up. Sign yourself up to a free account at buildingmentalwealth.com. See what courses are there. There's a variety of quizzes you can take. There's things that you can check out that will help you to act as if, and also help you learn more about self-awareness, mental well-being, and confidently achieving your goals, both personally and professionally.